Yeah, no, I agree. So software wouldn't be one of your sort of skill sets. So you would have outsourced that to a software company, did you?
We have outsourced it to our web designer.
Okay.
Who actually, funnily enough, it's quite funny. In my head, it's quite funny because he didn't understand what I was trying to achieve.
Have you got communication issues, Richard?
Communication issues. And it's taken him quite a long time actually to get
it together. Hello, everybody. Gavin Coyle. I'm the Gaffer, back again. Another brilliant guest today. It's Richard Goulding, and he owns a really, really interesting company called exhibitionvision.co.uk. Love it. Love the space of event space, but love more the innovation. I don't think this industry has had much innovation over the years. And we're going to get in and talk about that because Richard's after been working on something in the background. And we've had a good chat about it. And I think it's going to be a game changer in terms of the industry that he operates in. And it's another clear indication that if you stall and if you stay static in your business, other people are just going to come up with some bright ideas and overtake you. And before you know it, you're left behind, even though you might have been in the top 2 or 3 within the country in your industry. If you're not evolving and if you're not innovating, you will get left behind. So we're going to get in and talk to Richard today about this product that he's produced and the excitement of that and how that's going to be a game changer. Richard, I'm delighted to have you on the show. How are you? And tell us all about where you came from and how you got to where you are today.
Well, first of all, Gavin, thank you very much for having me on. It's a real pleasure to come on to the Gaffer on the Gaffer podcast. How I started in the events industry, do you want to know about? Okay, well, I was a radio DJ, and I was sending out demos to different radio stations. I did tell you it was a bit tedious to get into how I got into it, and I sent some demos out, and we was on a website called Media UK, and just by coincidence, there was a guy looking for somebody to help him at the NEC, which had nothing to do with radio, NEC in Birmingham, nothing to do with radio whatsoever. But a young lad at the time, I thought, well, let's see what it's all about. Contacted the guy, and it was all about installing TV plasma screens at the time. You remember the big old heavy plasma screens that you needed a couple of people to lift them back then. And basically exhibition stands used to use TV screens to show their promotional videos. So I got into that whilst DJing as well, and did a bit, ended up working for this other company as their foreman in the end, sort of overseeing their hire projects for exhibitions and events. And that was it, just sending a demo CD out and using a website, and met a good contact.
Brilliant. Love it. Love it. What age were you then?
I was 24, I think. So, yeah.
So you came out of school, or what kind of education did you come out with?
Not a very good one, to be honest with you. I misbehaved a bit, and didn't really, I was clever, but I wanted to, didn't really want to learn too much at school. I wanted to go and earn money as soon as possible. So I went straight into an electronics company making wiring looms for the London Underground trains. So for the control boxes on the London Underground trains, I was doing that for a year. Then I went into doing car spares. That I was interested in cars, and then went down the route of being a club DJ in Birmingham. I had an interest in music. I was always making fake radio shows when I was younger in my bedroom, and just wanted to play music to people, and went to do that, and then got into doing local radio, not on a huge scale, but a reasonable scale to a reasonable amount of coverage of people on FM in Birmingham, and then, as I say, met this contact in the events world.
Wow! So you literally, don't get me wrong, but you 20 plus years in the event industry probably at this stage.
That's right. Yeah. Over 20 years.
So you've seen a lot of changes in the industry, or as it's kind of stayed the same? Seems to be the same sort of nucleus of companies that operate in that space. There's one superpower, and then there's kind of like, a lot of smaller type companies. Is that the way it is, or?
Yeah, the way it works is there's a lot of big boys out there, but there's so much work in the events industry. There's so many events on at the same time all over the UK and into Europe as well, that we don't win all these big contracts, but the big boys win the contracts, and then they use smaller companies and medium companies to do the work, which is actually a really good system.
Yeah, it's similar. Well, the construction industry has kind of gone like that really in the last 15 years, isn't it? There's a management company that wins the contract, does the pricing, holds the client close, and then as soon as they win it, then it's kind of contracted out to all the different parties, the specialists, if you like.
That's right, and also you do get more of a personal service from the smaller companies, even if we are working for the bigger boys. Their end user is then getting a more personal service, because we do, even that the big boys care, but smaller and medium businesses seem to sometimes care a little bit more as well, which across the board, if you're working for the bigger boy, but you're servicing the end user client, then that's good for everybody.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, are you governed by the construction regulations?
No, we're not actually. It's something that always astounds me, that there isn't too much regulation in the events industry. Whether that's to do with the timescales we get, not that safety should be put on the back burner if you've got less time to deliver something, but it is quite a difficult thing to police in this industry.
Interesting. Well, you're obviously governed by the Act, the Health and Safety Act, but in terms of construction, so you would have your own best practice in terms of the event industry. I'm really sure there's a guideline there in terms of events and safety of events, but it is a sort of a grey area, isn't it? It doesn't really, it kind of does a one size fits all rather than actual, it could be a stadium with 80,000 people, like as an event, for example. And then obviously you're talking about tents, or you're talking about, pop-ups.
Yeah, when I say we're not governed, obviously we are governed by the Act, but it's not as red tape as the normal construction industry would be, which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, like, but then you have big sort of events like what was it in Aston Towers and stuff like that. Where you have a crash. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago. Like it has had any sort of, it's been catastrophic, the events that has had in the events industry when they do have an event.
Absolutely fair to say. I mean, we've had a thing in the industry for a long time called Stop the Drop, because we are one of the only industries still to be allowed to use 4-meter A-frame ladders. And it still astounds me that we can have people running up and down ladders, putting lights up, putting graphics up, putting stuff up. In most industries, as far as I'm aware, in most construction industries, these are frowned upon and generally banned in other industries.
Yeah, the hierarchy of control, they call it. You need to try and prove that, well, why are you using this in the first place? I know why they're using it, because it's speed. Your business is all about speed, isn't it? Yeah. Like, give us the size of the industry. Give us a sense of the size of the industry in the UK. Like, what are we talking about money? Is there a pound sign that says this is much this industry's worth?
I should have done my research on that. I don't know, but it has to be in the billions.
Billions.
I would say billions. So.
Wow.
Surely it has to be, because if you look at the NEC, for instance, which is our local venue, there is some weeks 7 or 8 shows on a week.
Wow, yeah, that's true.
So that's just one venue. Then you've got your huge venues in London, which is obviously Excel is the big one there now.
Yeah.
Manchester Central.
Yeah.
You've got other London events, and if all of those have got all those events on, then I would say it has to be worth that much money.
Yeah, no, sorry. Now that you say it, like the Excel, we would have exhibited there in the past, and I've definitely attended a number of events, and it's phenomenal.
And it's been extended again.
No way.
Yeah,
Wow.
so down the southern end of XL, which was a huge parking area, and generally used for holding of your white van man or the Arctic lorries that are making these events happen. That's now all been extended on and actually gone. So there's another worry there of where all these vans and lorries are going to go while they're waiting to go onto site.
They're nearly backing onto the hotels. Those hotels. Wow. That's crazy.
I mean, it was extended. It was extended about 12 years ago down at XL, and it just shows you the growth in the industry to be able to extend this place. I mean, it's a mile long as it is, I think, or just short of a mile long.
It's ridiculous, yeah. It's nearly,
It's going to be, I think, like nearly nearly a mile and a half long.
so in terms of the players in the market, like, is there hundreds and hundreds of players in the market, or is there just, a small nucleus of guys? Because I'm sure you're all working together in the same industry, in the same events, most likely.
There's hundreds and hundreds of us out there, and we're all reasonably busy, which tells you the demand.
What I can't get out of that is after COVID, I would have thought that people backed off on events.
I was going to get into that actually. It's one of the reasons why we have got busier and busier actually, because we was quite a small company. We still are a small company, but we would never have got the opportunities on some of the contract work or some of the end user work, in fact, before COVID, because it was quite a market where they would just go to the bigger boys, and then the bigger boys would stream it down to the medium and small boys. What we're finding now in the industry since COVID, because we lost so many people to HS2, we lost a lot of people to, which obviously didn't work out as well as they thought it was going to be with the northern bit being cancelled. And people have been starting to drip feed back in, but the point is that we lost a lot of people during COVID. So now we were one of a few to survive for a start. It was very, very hard, but then we found that when we came back with a boom. Very difficultly, we went, because we've got our own vehicles, so obviously vehicles sat down on the yard and making no money, so we went to do house removals. We did logistics jobs. The furlough scheme obviously helped as well. The grants helped. Without the government grants, we wouldn't have survived. The house removal jobs and the logistics jobs were just a little bit of extra money to pay the bills.
How did you get involved with house? I have to ask. How did you get involved with house removals? Please tell me. There has to be.
I'll tell you. I was pulling my hair out. It was the August of the July of the first lockdown, the first year of the first lockdown, and I put an advert on Facebook saying, with a picture of our 3 vehicles, saying these vehicles are doing nothing. We're an events company. We've got no income. We don't know when we're going to restart. And we had a contact from a local removal firm saying that they were snowed under with work and needed some help locally. And and they ended up making me even though we were subcontracting to them, they made me a foreman, and I was running half of their business for them.
I love it.
I loved it though.
You're brilliant.
And I'll tell you what I loved about it. It was completely different to what we were used to. So instead of working in the corporate world where everything's got to be, absolutely perfect, and the stands have got to, they've waited all year for this stand. We were having little old ladies or old couples. We're moving boxes from one place to another, and they were giving us £20 tip.
Ah, come on!
And you just it was just one of those jobs where you had a real good
sense of
feeling. Yeah. It was like, get it on the van, take it off the van. There's a little tip, and they were just happy. There was no stress, even though it was really, really, really hard work.
Yeah, but I was just thinking there, you've got a great model where you're very systematic, I imagine, in your business, very process driven. And I could just see you going process with that particular. And I'd say you probably brought, I'd say the owners of that other company that brought you in, and fair play to them for doing it, I'd say they probably took more lessons out of you in the way you run your business.
Maybe the removals world, I think generally, the people that are working in there are picking up boxes and carrying them to one point or the other. What we brought to that was we knew the stresses of running a business. We knew that they were under a lot of pressure financially as well. They've got to balance their books, but we came with a duty of care, because with our industry, you have to care about everything you do to deliver that fantastic project. So we brought all of that across, and we still speak to them now, and we still actually bounce off each other, because if we need an extra set of logistics, like an extra van or some extra men, they're our first call every time.
That is amazing. I love that story. That's a brilliant story. Well done, you. You've got a real entrepreneur background on you.
Yeah, and we still, I've told them, they helped us through the dark days of COVID, and with them and the grants and everything else, we probably wouldn't be sitting here now.
Let's go from that into what is it that we're talking about here today? We're talking about inefficiencies that you've seen in your industry. I would suggest that, and I don't know your industry inside out, but I would suggest that it hasn't really changed over the years in terms of the model of how things operate within that business. Give us an idea of what you're doing here. Tell us what you've done to try and change the industry.
Right. Well, first of all, are we talking about my software thing? Yeah. So there's a lot of faff when it comes to an exhibition stand. The problem is a client has a vision, and to tell you that vision, to get something out of your head into my head or one of my staff's heads is very hard to do. So normally we'll go back and forth with sketches, literally on the back of a fag packet sometimes. It can be that rough as an idea.
So sorry to cut across you there. So little old me, I need a stand in the Excel. I'm coming over from Ireland. It's the construction week in the UK. So I ring your company. Your company can do the branding for my back stand. You can do the stand itself. You can do the carpet. You can do the furniture. Is that what we're...
Everything.
That's everything. Okay, talk to me about that.
So you rent the floor space. It is UK Construction Week this week, actually, isn't it? Down at XR. Yeah, we was there yesterday. So if you hire the space on the exhibition floor, we can build from everything from the top of there up for you, and then we can furnish it. We can put any AV requirements you have, like you might have PA system on there. You may need big LED screens on there. We do everything. We don't stock all of that. We do use other small companies to come in and do little elements. We do have a furniture range, but we get a big furniture company in, we get a big AV company in. The idea is that you would come from Ireland. We've already pre-arranged everything. You come 2 o'clock on the last day before the show opens, and there it is, ready to go.
Like I've seen the fire and security show would be the one that I would be generally at as well. Oh my God. You can see the difference in spend power. Oh my God. Like just the stands, like I know I've been to Adipec in Abu Dhabi as well, and the stands are just phenomenal. Like, do you build those stands?
Not in Abu Dhabi. Who knows in the future? Who knows? I do know a few companies that work over there, and a lot. Interestingly, there's a lot of companies setting up a branch of their company in Abu Dhabi because it's going through the roof for events and exhibitions in that space.
Yes, but like, the likes of these stands, 100 grand, would you say, in terms of £100,000 for some of this stuff, like in terms of labor, time, management and material, and for people to put their own people on the stand for a week or whatever it is. Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coil Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear. Provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coil-group.com or click on the show notes or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't get many that are 100 grand, but if you take into account their extra costs, like their hotels, their staffing, their transports, you know, if somebody's spending 30 grand with us, then the space in the actual exhibition hall has cost them £400 a square metre to add on to that cost. Then they've got the staffing. You know, you are looking at, you know, around that sort of cost, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about super stands now. In fairness, if someone's listening to this going on, there's no way I'm like you could do it at a much budget price to that. Obviously, like you don't have to be building out some of the giant stuff like the security guys and the fire guys. There's definitely money in that industry because their stands are phenomenal. They're out of the world. Like
yeah, I mean, and for the last, there's been a lot of doom and gloom in the UK in the last 6-7 months. You know, with the new government, etc. There was a little bit of uncertainty where if they would understand the events industry, because obviously we've been under the Conservative rule for so long, and the industry ran really well. But there's been a lot of doom and gloom, and people are like, oh, you know, no, there's no money and blah blah blah. It's in the events and exhibitions world, we don't see that doom and gloom. What we see is people that may be in a doom and gloom situation, but to get out of that, they need to attend these sort of events and advertise what they do. I mean, we started up before the major recession in 2008. So obviously we started up just before that. And I'm not going to lie, it was a scary, scary time. I'd just started a business up and I thought, no, I've got to put my trust into this industry, that this would be the right industry to get out of this certain situation.
it is a bit of a niche industry now, in fairness. And
It is indeed, yeah.
Go riches and niches, isn't that what they say? The Americans.
Yeah.
So talk to me, like, so how are you going to change it?
Well, just going back to this thing that we're launching on our website. So it's going to be live in the next couple of weeks, maybe next week. So by the time this goes out, it'll hopefully be live anyway. There's been a lot of time wasting with just going back to the sketch idea, where clients would try to get this thought process of what they want to us. So we've tried to bridge the gap with this. And before we've even spoken to the potential client, we've devised a system online, and we think we're one of the first to do it, where they can put in all of their stand size. So this would work for an indoor stand, an outdoor stand, wherever it was, it would work. They can put in the stand size, they can put in how many sides it's open on. They can tell us what size walls they want. They can tell us where they want graphics. They can tell us if they want furniture. They can tell us if there's any bespoke items. And our system online will give them a price which is about 96% going to be correct. They can have the lighting on there, any graphics they want. And what it does is it saves all the faff of going back and forth, a lot of time wasting. You know, time, we all know time in this day and age is precious. And if a marketing executive can, or whoever's dealing with the stand idea, can just go bam bam bam, it sends a copy to them with an estimate which is more or less correct. It sends a copy to us, and within the hour I can have a 3D visual of that stand sent to them. This is going to save 4 or 5 days, of back and forth, deciding, oh no, can we just do this? Can we just change that? Blah blah blah. Now they might want to change it, They might want to change it when they've actually seen the visual of it. But we're bridging a gap where sometimes we could do 7, 8, 9, 10 versions of a design, and that's because they haven't fully explained to us what they want properly, or we haven't understood what they want properly. So if we can get this system working, which we are, we're going to save loads of time for us and them. We can do the 3D render, and then that's it. They sign it off and they turn up just before the show's open, and it's all ready to go.
It's a bit of a leap of faith now, isn't it? Though, like for the client, if I was a client, I'd be thinking, "Geez, is this going to work?" Like I've basically put a credit card into it. So does it take the online payment, or do you have to do a bank transfer?
No, so we're not as aggressive as that. I find that quite. Some people, if they're finding you for the first time online, if they're buying something for their house for £50 and they haven't heard of your company, they're going to take a chance on that. When you're talking, thousands of pounds, I don't think someone's going to want to put their credit card details in. I think they want to speak to somebody, at least on an email / the phone call, to say, oh, you are a real person. We may still have the stage where we're having to then send some previous work, some other case studies on other jobs, so that they can see that we're real people. Yeah, but then generally it's a 50-50 invoice backs payment, so 50% in advance. We even offer an open door policy where people can come down if they're anywhere near our place to come and see it being made.
Brilliant, love it. So so tell me that you built this around the customer and that wasn't just something you thought off the top of your head. Tell me you involved the customer in the process of this idea that you had, or this model that you had. Is it or is it purely your own, off the top of your own head? You said, right, this is what I'm going to do. This needs to change. I'm not happy with it. Or is the customers going, do you know what? There must be a better way of doing this.
The customer, definitely. I've had clients of many years that still hate the process where they've got something in their head but they can't fully explain it to me, and it will take me 3 or 4 attempts to get it correct. So we've solved the problem for them by about 80%, because we sort of more or less give them what they're thinking, and for us it saves us so much time. We can get so many inquiries in a week, and there's been some Fridays where I'm still tapping away at 7 o'clock, or my colleagues are tapping away at 7 o'clock, and no one wants to be working at 7 o'clock on a Friday if they don't have to be. So I think this is just going to make us more efficient, a lot quicker for the client. And if it's good for the client, then it has to be a positive.
Yeah, no, I agree. So software wouldn't be one of your sort of skill sets. So you would have outsourced that to a software company, did you?
We have outsourced it to our web designer.
Okay.
Who actually, funnily enough, it's quite funny. In my head, it's quite funny because he didn't understand what I was trying to achieve.
Have you got communication issues, Richard?
Communication issues. And it's taken him quite a long time actually to get
it together.
To get it together, and I've been laughing, not to him personally, but in my head going, there is a problem, even though it's a different problem.
I'm just thinking as well, like it's probably a stupid question, but I'll ask it anyway. Like, is there a chance then that your competitors are just going to go onto your website and use that calculator themselves to calculate up every job that they might get? Just go, okay, well, if Richard's putting in that price, I'll put in 10% less.
You're always going to get this. I think price doesn't always matter. I think it's service. So I think a lot of clients look for, that I've worked with these guys before. I know that their product and their delivery is good. So why for 5 or 10% would you necessarily risk it? What I would like to hope is that the client would come back to us and said, look, we've had another quote from somewhere else for the same thing. Would you match it? Which we always would. But I must say that I do consider ourselves to be very, very competitive on price. And 9 times out of 10, we win the job with the first quote.
Okay, brilliant. So what about commercializing that product to license it out to other competitors in the market? Would you not consider that?
Absolutely. Absolutely, we would. It's something that we've not thought about properly, probably because we haven't realised how good it is yet, because it's not. It's at the time of our recording, it's not gone out live, but it should be live now, hopefully. But yes, definitely something to look at, and if it can help others, we don't want to take over the events world. We want to do well in the events world, and we want everybody else in the events world to do well as well, because we all work together a lot.
Well, the obvious question is, why is the superpower event companies not done this already?
It's a really good question, and maybe it works better for smaller companies like ourselves to save us the time. Maybe the other companies have got the resource to have somebody sitting there and just going through it all. I don't know the answer to that.
But it just sometimes there's a saying about this, isn't there? Like something staring you in the face, and it's such a simple solution, and everybody goes, "Well, why do we not think of that?" I think that's one of these things, one of these moments.
Yeah. I just can't wait to see it launched and see how well it does. And then we'll see where we go with the licensing side.
Talk to me about the connection then between the software and then feeding that information to the whole logistics. And have you connected that area? Or is that just another project down the road?
That is a difficult one, because before it goes to the logistical side, it needs to come through some sort of admin process. So it's too niche to have it an automatic link to the logistics side, if that makes sense. It does need a human being still to process it, and I don't want to take that away, because that's where the personal touch needs to come in still. But we have the time as a company, and the industry has the time to make sure that is personalized at that stage.
But I'm thinking, and I don't know your business, but I'm thinking surely there's a connection between, a 9-foot post and a 6-foot post and a 4-foot post in the warehouse that has to be gathered and put on the back of a flatbed truck or whatever you're using. And there must be a clear link between that diagram 3D model and the price and the warehouse in terms of how does that, have you figured that out, or is this, do you just print off sheets at the moment and go to the ganger crew, here, there's the sheet, off you go, you're heading for the NEC?
Okay, so we do have very set sort of heights on walling and stuff like that. So it's generally the minimum is 2.5 meters. Then we have like up to 2.8, 3 meters, 3.5 meters, and 4 meters. So generally a stand, if I'd say 9 times out of 10, if it's 4 meters, all the walls are 4 meters. So they'll load everything they need from big racking sections. We do actually have another piece of software in place, which has just been written for me by a friend of mine. And this software is our logistics software, because what we found in the industry, that the logistics on events is the worst headache ever, because we reuse a lot of stuff to be sustainable. So you could have an event that's finishing tomorrow, but the next day, some of the elements from there are being used on another one that's going in. So the logistics is a nightmare, but the software we've just had written helps a little bit to streamline that. I would love to be able to, going forward, integrate the new quoting system into the logistics system. And I'm very lucky to be friends with a very clever guy that I went to school with. He concentrated and I didn't.
He went to school, you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't turn out too bad now, Richard, in fairness.
No, I guess so. I'm putting myself down there. He's written this software, and I haven't gone to him yet with the integration idea, but it is on the cards going forward, and that would make
that's a game
that would
changer.
be a dream come true.
Yeah, it seems like a natural progression, doesn't it? That you would connect the two together.
Yeah, most definitely. It's just something that I haven't 100% got my head around yet, and I haven't approached my friend who's the software developer because he's had his own projects going on recently as well. So I'm just waiting for him.
What it sounds to me like is it's like you already have perfected the on-site operation. It's really the back office that was killing you. So you're going to free up your time, which allows you more time with your clients, which allows you more time with your guys.
Oh, definitely, and that just means we can be more proactive because we've got more time to put onto the personal service. That's one thing we do pride ourselves with here. A personal service. But the bigger you get, naturally, the less the personal service can be. Not 100%, but you have got a lot of clients to deal with at one time sometimes.
I'm thinking as you're talking there, like there's going to be people screaming at the screen going, what is he talking about? Like, there's BIM modeling out there already in construction that can do a lot of these fancy 3D. You'll get a good insight into how a building operates from, greenfield right the way through to finished product and stuff like that. I'm sure there's other softwares out there that can, but I suppose what you're trying to say really is you're building a unique product within the industry that you're from, with the language and with the know-how and the culture, and you just know you know it inside out. And that's what I love about it, because you probably could use other software to do this, but it wouldn't be based around the event industry. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely fair to say. And another thing that we need to talk about is the design. So when you're spending money on an event space, it's generally expensive. And when you're only using this product, let's call it a product because it technically is, when you're only using it for 2 or 3 days and then it gets sort of taken down and that's the end of it, it can seem very expensive. So, for instance, if you're designing a house interior, you would draft an interior designer in who that can be expensive. So when it comes to an exhibition stand, it needs to be simple and effective and quick, which is what we think we're sort of bridging the gap with here.
Mm-hmm. Is there any verticals out of that then? Do you see, like, within the industry, I suppose, from that software, like, do you see it going into other industries? Could it be transferable into other industries? Or is it very, very, very specific to events?
It's very, very niche for events and exhibitions, really.
I love that you said that, because, again, a niche within a niche. You're in a niche business and you've created a niche product.
I mean, another thing, Gavin, is that I could get a client who has decided to take some event space at last minute. And what this would allow us to do is they would before probably just gone, oh, well, it's last minute. We've spent £3,000 on the floor space. Let's just take some pull-up banners. And I when I walk these shows, because I do walk shows a lot, I see people that have spent money on floor space that's cost them thousands of pounds, but then failed to deliver anything on top of the space. So they just look like a market stall. And what was the point of spending the money on the space? So what this allows us to do is we could produce something not overly fancy, but quite eye-catching at last minute with this system. And that's if we can bridge the gap for there's so many people that exhibit and fail because they don't do enough with the space that they've paid thousands for, and it seems silly.
I remember talking to an event organizer similar to yourself, and we actually start talking about bringing in a simulator, a Formula One simulator. And he nearly had me convinced now, in fairness to him. He was like, yeah, we'll put a Formula One car simulator at the stand, and you can run a show, basically. Someone gets into the car and drives around the circuit, and whoever gets around the circuit fastest, at the end of the week of the exhibition, you can give out an award for, pole 1, pole 2, pole 3. And he said, you'll have a line of people up. I was like, okay, I just wanted a stand. Now I'm having a conversation about how do I attract traffic to the stand. And I think it's such an important topic that you've just raised there, because I had no concept about driving traffic. As far as you're concerned, the marketplace is built for you because the show promotes the show, and it's telling you through all these email marketing campaigns, so and so's arrived, and here's all the people within your industry, and it gives you, there's an app there, as you know, with these events. But there's nothing like having a line queued up outside the stand. And like, have you any other antidotes just outside of your own product, but like, for someone that has never used an event or never thought about an event, or somebody that's going to start using events as part of their sales process, can you give them some sort of lessons learned and stuff that they need to know and avoid, if you like?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that it's all very good having these sort of things on stand, like the Formula One simulators, and I mean, we do lots of different things for people, and I try to advise people not to do them sometimes. I mean, we built a mini golf course not so long ago at an outdoor show. The car simulator thing, my only argument with these games is that are you getting the right bums on seats, or are they just people that want to play a game at an exhibition? If they're people that just want to play a game at an exhibition, it's a complete waste of time, because they're not interested in your product, so they're just interested in this racing game and winning an iPad or something. So, I try to explain to people, if you're going to have some sort of game on stand where there's a chance of a prize, what are we looking for here? So we're looking to capture their data, because that's what we want. We want to capture their data. But the main thing we need is, for instance, we had a opportunity where you could play darts against one of the darts players on the stand. And I said to the client, she said, "Oh, we're just going to have people queuing up and they're going to play again." I said, "Right, okay." No, I said, what you should do is, and I do go the extra mile, because really we're just there to design and build the stand. But I said, you need to vet these people first. We need to scan their badges, see where they're from, and then steer them towards offering them to come and have a bit of value and play darts against this darts player. Because if we've got 10, if we've got 1 in 10 people playing darts who is actual potential customer for this client, then the other 9 are a complete waste of time. So I try to explain to people, let's vet them first in a way where you're not saying to them, right, who are you, what's your name, where you're from, in a nice way. And we need a flow through the stand. So the meeting point is sort of generally on that corner. You see who they are, you sort of vet them, and you point them in the direction of your staff on stand who can help them the most. If they're a bit of a chancer that, is just looking for freebies and stuff, try to steer them away a little bit. But you've got to have the right bums on seats. We have generally 2 or 3 days in an event, and they're paying thousands of pounds. So let's talk and meet the right people.
Yeah, 100%. Because I remember seeing those spinning wheels where, and you've seen it, Wheel of Fortune, yeah, and the queues right down the hall, and none of them looking at the stand where the guy actually set it up. Because, as exactly what you said, a lot of them don't care about the stands. They're there just, and they're not decision makers. And I think that's the point you're trying to make, is who actually are the decision makers going to these shows? Because there's an awful lot of people that go to shows that are not decision makers. And I think from my lesson learned in terms of the event space, that's the big thing for me, is who are the decision makers, like the real decision makers.
It's also hard as well to get the real decision makers out sometimes. They do send the reps out, and then it's a slower process, because the reps have then got to tell them what they've seen, and then they've got to follow it up. So it can be difficult in that situation, but we want people out there, and we want people back at events even more than they are. We want them out there. I think events I live and breathe events, and I think that meeting people in person, shaking hands, or even just data capture with follow up after is the best way of doing business.
Yeah, no. The other thing that I would, for what it's worth from my side of things, is use the event to catch up with your network, both your peer-to-peer network and also your client network. So that you know, rather than going out on the road trying to visit your clients all year randomly, that you can say, look, come and meet us and we'll go for a bite, maybe a pint after the show or whatever else. Like, you know, it is a great meetup place, in fairness, the events.
Absolutely. I actually have clients who ask us to build, if they've got a big stand, they ask us to build a customer area where they can entertain them. We'll have coffee machines. Sometimes if it's a show where we're allowed to serve beer, they'll have some beers. And it's a zone where they can come, sit, talk about the last year of trading together. But then that looks like really good to potential new clients, because you've got clients there being, yeah, you know, yeah, exactly that. We do get clients asking us. Yeah, we get clients asking us to build that sort of area. And I frowned upon it at first because I thought, are we just interested in new business? But as you say, if it's an annual show where that supplier or, you know, can say, guys, we're going to be at X show. Please come and see us. We've got nibbles on, food, drink. We want to say thank you for your custom. And while they're there, they might even order even more stuff from them.
100%. I'm going to throw a few curveballs at you, curveball questions, if you don't mind, Rich. Give me a favorite book or a film that you like. It doesn't have to be business in terms of a book. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a film.
Do you know what? I can't read. I haven't read many books. Films. Oh, I haven't got time for films. What film do I like? Oh, you've got me there. I'm gonna have to think now.
I can come back to it. We can come back to it, and I'll give you another one, another curveball. So you better be prepared.
I'll have a little think.
Knowing what you know now, Richard, what would you do different?
What would I do different? I would have probably employed people earlier when I first started, because I thought I could do everything. That's one thing that comes to mind. Yeah, one thing that honestly I mean, yeah, when you're working 98 to 100 hours a week, and you're starting off, but you've got the funds to bring someone in, but you think you can do it all, you nearly tips you over the edge and you nearly fail.
It's kind of an inherent kind of problem, isn't it, with startups? It's kind of like you don't want to let go, and you're afraid to bring someone in, and are they going to take the business from you? Are they going to try and do it themselves? And how can you trust them? And, you know, do I have the money to pay them? And what happens if, you know, they've got a mortgage, and all the bias reasons why you shouldn't is always the ones that comes to mind first. A point of interest about you that not many people would know. So something about you, and they go, "Jeez, I didn't know that about Richard. I only heard about that on the podcast. How come he never told us about that?"
Got a bit of a niche fun fact about me. If there's any football fans out there, I'm number one. I'm a Birmingham City fan, so we've just been promoted back to the Championship, thank goodness. But for the last 19 years, I am the tannoy announcer at Birmingham City Football Club.
I wanted to get that one in. I was like, love it. So you have to excuse me now, because this is our first on the I'm the Gaffer, but like, you're going to have to give us a statement or some sort of an announcement here in your good Brummie accent for on the day. Give us it.
Okay, so when the teams come out the tunnel, I walk the teams out the tunnel, and I'll say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the two teams, Charlton Athletic and your Birmingham City.
It just sits with you completely, doesn't it? You're in the event space, you were a DJ, you were on the radio, you know, and now you're like, you know, how many thousand people in that stadium?
Well, now we have new owners and everyone wants to be there again. It's 28,000 every week.
Everyone wants to be there again.
Yeah.
So I'll
tell you what, it's been a great journey as well, because sorry to just cut in. Obviously, when I started, we'd been relegated from the Premier League, 2005, and then we was in the Championship, and then we went back up to the Premier League, and I mean I'm a relatively young lad, stood in the tunnel bringing these players out. You know, you've got your likes of your Man United, your Liverpools, and at the time you're standing there with Steven Gerrard and Wayne Rooney and all these sort of people in the tunnel, and you sort of have to just give your head a bit of a slap. Like, is this actually real? And it's phenomenal, really. Very lucky as well. Very lucky to be able to do that, and they've just told me that they want me again this year. So yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, it's not a huge amount of money, but it's the type of thing that, you know, you're sort of very privileged to do. I've done Wembley Stadium twice as well. Yeah, because we were in the we won the Carling League Cup, not called the Carling Cup anymore, the League Cup 2011 against Arsenal, and I got a phone call saying that the stadium announcer from each club gets 5 minutes pre-match to get their fans going, and I thought it was a wind-up. So there I am on the pitch half an hour before kickoff, and then I did it this season. We made the Football League Trophy final against Peterborough, but unfortunately we lost.
Amazing. I my hats off to you, pal. Like, we could be here all day talking about.
You're welcome. You're welcome to any game. Just if you want to come to any Birmingham City game, just let me know.
Richard, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Talk to me about. Okay, so this software is going to come out probably not so much next week, maybe the week after, but definitely in the next couple of weeks. So they go onto your website, do they? To talk to me about where do people go?
So the website is exhibitionvision.co.uk. It's all very clear on there. You can go to our stand build calculator and click on there, and you can basically get your stand for an exhibition anywhere in the UK and even Europe, and we can sort it all from there for you.
Brilliant. And in terms of getting in touch with yourself, through the website or LinkedIn, or what way do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. If you search my name, Richard Goulding, Exhibition Vision, you'll find me very easily. Our generic email is hello@exhibitionvision.co.uk. All the details are on the website. There's also a contact form on there, and also pictures of our previous work that we've done across the UK and Europe.
Richard, you're an amazing guest. You're very humble, by the way, and it's actually a skill in itself to be humble and sort of, you know, underrated, if you like, because I love your passion. It definitely comes across in terms of the event space. I love the fact that you're constantly innovating. I love the fact that you're so passionate and on it. And then I love the fact that you're just a nice guy that's just, cracking on, and you know exactly what you're good at, and you know exactly what you're not good at. And you've stayed in your lane, and it shows that that's why you're a success. And I wish you every other success in the future.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's a real honor.
Okay, take care. All the best, Richard. We'll see you again in the future. And definitely come back and tell us about this software, how it's changed the industry for the better.
I certainly will. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Hello, Gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have. But in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build the channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business.